Alright, it's been a while since I made one of these kind of videos. I want to do some live trading today. The reason I haven't done this for a while is because, I'm sure a lot of you know, but I'm sure a lot of you don't. I've been learning a new strategy, a new trading strategy for the last I've been learning it for the last year, and I've been taking it seriously for the past like 6 months where, the only type of trading I really do is this style. I'm really, just trying to practice and get my time in. And this is a kind of style that I can't share on YouTube. It's White Phoenix's smart money style. If you watch Jason Casper or if you're in his VIP Discord, then you definitely know who that is. A lot of my trading is stuff that I can't post on YouTube. But, I've noticed recently that there's been a pattern with, a certain kind of trade setup that, is something that I started off with. It's kind of a classic. Just a simple SFP of a range high with market cipher confirmations. That kind of trade setup has been happening a lot recently. And I did just take a short here. We did have, some slight bear divs. It was not as clear because money flow is increasing on the 3 minute, and we did not have any divergences on the 5 minute. And on the 5 minute, money flow is coming up. So, and a green dot just printed there. That's a little frightening. Does that mean price is pumping? Nah, not yet. So I took a little scalp trade here. I did take this trade. I was kind of like in the 1 minute. I was watching this as price was approaching up here, and the fact that we front ran it, came down, then SFP'd with divergences. When we were right here, we didn't have any divergences forming really, so that kind of made me a little bit more confident to take it. Like, oh, okay, price wanted to retrace and then get the SFP, so we could have some divergences here on the 1 minute, including some money flow divs. So that's why I took that trade. But I also want to go over a few examples recently that I've seen of this kind of thing working. And right up here is a great example. I did not take this trade up here. I was not at the computer when it happened. And these are the kind of trade setups where you really got to be at the computer while it's happening, otherwise you're going to miss it. So, I've been setting alerts at my range highs. Yeah, I've just been paying attention to the extremes of the range, whether it be the high or the low. I did take a loss yesterday trying to long this SFP of the low right here. We did close a candle, a 5 minute candle as an SFP, but I recognized it was a bit more risky because 5 minute money flow was ultimately coming out. We didn't really see a lot of confirmations right here as we got that divergence. But what we did have great confirmations for was this move on the high. We had clear momentum divs, clear money flow divs starting from like right here. I guess at the point money flow just started to take a turn to the downside, it was right about here. But yeah, essentially what I'm just looking for is a classic SFP of a range extreme with market cipher confirmations, which ideal confirmations is divergence with momentum and money flow. You can maybe say this is an SFP of the range low. I don't know if it closed, and it looks like it closed a 5 minute candle below. So you could technically say that this was an SFP on the 15 minute, and there were some bull divs with momentum. Money flow was kind of putting in a lower low at the time, so that was a bit sketchy, but it was an SFP that gave an aggressive move, and this one was a long, so that's good. For the most part, I've noticed that this was working with shorts, and I think this is another example up here. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird with the divergence because this momentum wave was very small. We kind of had a SFP of this range high with divergences that produced the original move down. Then we came back up for one more SFP. Basically, we're just seeing a lot of SFPs, and these SFPs tend to give reversals. At least that's what I've noticed recently. Here's another example right here. We had an SFP the low, and it looks like we had slight momentum divs, pretty clear money flow divs, so this is a good example right here. And this is just in the past, like, few weeks. There's, another example right up here. Looks like we had slight divs, probably some better divs on the 5 minute if I had to guess. But yeah, over the past few weeks, I've just noticed that these SFPs of, a lot of times newly formed ranges are, occurring a lot more than usual. And, so far this trade is working out. I have already put my stop loss to my entry, because I don't want to maintain risk on this one, especially after we already got a decent move away. But, my first TP is set down at this low, So hopefully we can, hit a TP live on recording here. That'd be pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna try and see if I can, take some SFP trades today. I wanna, try and go over market cipher confirmations again. Market cipher confirmations for scalps isn't something that I've done in a while, but recently, it seems like these SFPs with market cipher confirmations are given the most frequent trade setups, and in a lot of cases, the best risk reward. I mean, just down to this first TP is a 3-to-1. That's pretty good for just a little scalp within a range, and potentially it could continue running to the downside. And I also like SFP trades because my entry is pretty high up there. So I feel a lot more comfortable putting my stop loss to entry even if I haven't taken profits yet. If price comes up and stops me out, it's whatever, it's a break even. And honestly, I may want to consider TPing here because we got one wick, now two wicks. Now this candle is wicking up a little bit. I'll watch it a bit more, but I might want to TP a little early here. Okay, I hit my TP a little early. That was close enough. I saw this candle started wicking back up a little bit. It was close enough to my TP, so I'll mark it out. And there we go. That's a successful trade. So I want to continue following along with my scalps for today. And we'll see if I can take some more SFP trades. I think I probably will get the opportunity to because they're kind of popping up all over the place. The next targets for the short, I'd say probably number one would be this low. Number two, probably be this anchored VWAP from this low down here. So I will probably have some TPs set in these areas. And I will continue looking for trade setups. There might actually be one on this low. I didn't notice this before, but there actually was an SFP of this low, which technically was a very small range here. And we did see some divergences, at least with momentum on that move. So potentially we get another SFP. Maybe we continue ranging within this range. But if we break this range to the downside, then I'll be looking for the next range to form. Or maybe, I could look at this low and maybe say that this is a larger range. That is a possibility as well. Ranges are a little subjective. I, try to have a more objective look at how ranges form and what I consider ranges. But, for the most part, if you notice that you can kind of draw a rectangle around price action, there's a pretty good chance you can call that a range. I think I would call this a range. So, yeah, pretty much I'm looking for ranges to form. I'm looking for SFPs of the extremes, and I'm looking for market cipher confirmations. We'll see if we get any more trades today. All right, so we just got to move down to the low of the range. So far, it is an SFP on the 1 minute. I don't think I want to take this trade though, just because the confirmations aren't super clear. We are seeing 5-minute divs, honestly, and closing a 5-minute candle might make me want to consider this. But money flow coming out on the 1 minute, slight bull divs. I don't know if I want to take this one, and if I do take this trade, then I would probably take less of a risk on this. I would risk probably 0.5% instead of 1. But, potentially if we close a 5-minute candle here, I might actually consider taking a little scalp. The confirmations weren't great on the SFP, the high, and that worked, so maybe this could work again on the low. I just got a bit of PTSD from the last SFP long I took where the confirmations weren't great. But, honestly, with the money flow potentially putting in higher highs on the 5-minute, this is kind of looking like a decent trade. And we can pull up Coinalyze as well, see if maybe there's some kind of bullish confirmation, maybe some longs getting stopped out at that SFP, or potentially a lot of shorts opening. We have seen a lot of shorts opening, actually, a whole lot. According to the scale, it's multiple millions. I don't know if that's true, but at least just relative to the volume we've seen recently, this is a very large spike in volume, and CVD obviously went down, showing a lot of people shorted right in this area. So potentially they need to get stopped out, and potentially that means my short might get stopped out as well. I mean, they shorted in this area, so maybe we don't have to hit my stop loss necessarily, but that still could be a reason for a range rotation. Now, we did close a 5-minute candle as an SFP, but the next candle is immediately dumping down. If I start to see this turn into a blue candle, I might consider entering. Like if price gets up above where it opened, then I might consider entering this, right? This might just be stopping out everyone that kind of longed a little bit early with too tight of a stop loss. If I entered this, my stop loss would go a little loose, probably something like this, and that would hinder the risk reward. But I'd rather do that, especially on an SFP kind of trade, than try and maximize risk reward with this. I'd rather be a little bit safer with the stop. So I might consider entering a little trade here. All right, so I did enter long. I also TP'd a little bit on my short. Because my entry is so high up in the range, I'm kind of comfortable leaving a bit more in the short. I'm just kind of trying to hedge myself within this general range. And, there is going to be some resistance that we have to break through in order to get to my stop loss. It looks like my entry might be a little bit above the value area high. I'm not sure if that's exactly accurate, but we got the point of control, we got the VWAP, we got the value area high, and the value area low right now, all acting as resistance. So I am probably, even though I entered with less risk than usual, I'm probably going to look to TP a bit earlier than usual as well on this. And if I see that we're struggling around the value area low, I might actually close the trade out. Like if we start rejecting from here and it looks like market Cipher's kind of turning around, I might close the trade early. And I'm not going to have a limit order set here, but I am going to set an alert right before VWAP and right before the point of control. And I'm going to be ready to mark it out there if I have to. We're still seeing money flow putting in lower lows on the 1 minute. We did confirm that divergence though. All right, so we clearly broke above the value area low. That is a good sign already. Here's how I'm looking to manage this. If price comes back down and holds support on the value area low, I'm probably going to look to add to this trade a little bit. If price comes down and loses the point of control, then I'm probably going to look to close the trade. And if it does end up back testing the value area low and then continuing higher, then my stop loss is going to go, below that low. Hopefully that's right around my entry so I can de-risk. So, even though I'm not moving my stop loss right now because we could, come down SFP pretty deep below the value area low, come back up. I don't want to move my stop loss to entry just in case we end up holding it as support. In a way, I'm de-risking. It's not for sure because price could go like this and then stop me out in a second. But I'm still looking at this as I'm agreeing to de-risk the trade if I see reason to. And these are definitely the kind of trade setups where I want to de-risk them quickly. Like if price gets a move up to the VWAP or the point of control, at that point my stop loss is definitely going to my entry. My point is with these kind of trades, I like to de-risk them quickly because I look at these as lower probability trades. I'm kind of more willing to take them now just because I noticed they've been working recently. But I definitely view these as just in general more risky trades. Price can go in the direction of your trade and then still come down and kind of just continue the overall direction of price. So these are definitely the kind of trade setups where I'd look to de-risk it a lot more aggressively. There are some kind of trade setups where I'll sit and risk for a while because I'm confident in my stop loss and I'm confident that price should go somewhere. And while an SFP does often lead to range rotations, just going off of like an SFP candle alone, even with market cipher confirmations as like an added confluence isn't always like a guaranteed range rotation. You have to realize that. So, they've been working out recently. The past two have worked out very nicely. All right, so we are starting to approach the resistance area. Basically, we have some resistances stacked up right here, and we're getting a little wick away from the VWAP. I am hoping that we can get a move up to the point of control. I probably will take profit up in this area. It seems like I got a better entry than I intended here because right now my risk reward is pretty good. I'm already up more than I risked, and that looks pretty accurate. It looks like I'm up about 1.5 risk reward right now. So up to point of control would be 2. I'm happy to TP on a 2-to-1 risk reward. I will only TP if I notice that we are wicking away from the point of control. And I probably want to wait for a candle close as well. I'll just kind of watch in general. Like maybe I'll wait for a few 1 minute candle closes that could cause me to TP a bit lower, but that's fine if I have to do that. Because there's a chance that we just come up, maybe find a little resistance on the point of control and then shoot up. And if my short is going to get stopped out, then I want to kind of make it worth it with this long. But I think at this point is the time where I will put my stop loss to my entry and at least ensure a break even on this. I don't want to end up taking a loss on this trade, that's for sure. And we are finding a bit of resistance on the VWAP. So yeah, this is time to de-risk in my opinion. And something else I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark out the next potential trade setups. We are still trading in this range. We still have a range high that we could SFP again. And potentially, if my short gets stopped out, maybe there's another short opportunity. And I'm going to mark out the low as well, and I'm going to set alerts at these levels. And looking at market cipher, I like how the 1 minute's developing. We're getting a nice curvature to the upside, just printing a green dot. Looks like we're trying to push above the VWAP again. And we can check some other time frames. So, the 3 minute VWAP, starting to hook down a little bit. Not really sold on that, definitely like showing weakness quite yet. And the 5 minute is still looking relatively bullish. I mean, overall movement to the upside with momentum. Money flow also putting in higher lows. We did print a higher low right here, so it's still continuing the upward direction as well. It's just crossing back into the green. So potentially we actually break this range to the upside. And hey, we're at the point of control right now. So potentially if we start wicking down below this, I will TP, and if not, then we'll see if I can TP a bit higher here. But yeah, this is definitely my TP area. I'm not going to get greedy with it. It looks like we're wicking back down below, so I'm probably going to take a little bit of profits here. I can wait for, well, the 3 minute closed above it. Now we're falling back down below, though. I might look and see if we close a 1 minute candle below the point of control. If we do that, I'll probably TP, probably close out 1/3 of my long, leave the rest in to hopefully ride a bit higher. Not really sold on that close. And we're going higher now. We still got 2 minutes till the 5 minute candle closes. I may definitely TP around the value area high though, regardless. I think that is a fair TP spot. So we'll see. Unless we absolutely just blast through the value area high straight to the range high, then I'm probably going to TP here. But we're wicking down, so yeah, that's a TP sign for me. Alright, there we go. I locked in 0.5% with this trade. I got, about 1% unrealized left in it, so I closed about 1/3 of the position. And at this point, I have a decision to make. Do I leave my stop loss where it is and just try and leave myself in a hedged position, or I can move my stop loss up to, let's say, below VWAP, maybe in this area, and lock in a bit more profits. But in this situation, things are kind of looking bullish on the 5 minute, the 3 minute. It seems like overall market cipher is kind of pointing up, and that leads me to believe that we might break this range to the upside. So because of that, I don't really want to move my invalidation up. However, the fact that we just closed a 5 minute candle as a wick above the point of control, if we start losing VWAP at this point, I might actually just mark it out because, even if things are overall bullish, this kind of shows me that we're probably at least coming down to the value area low. That's kind of where I would target from there. And then, I mean, what are the chances that we don't come down and SFP the low or break the range to the downside at that point? This is kind of a bearish sign. So, yeah, that kind of makes me want to consider closing my long. But we'll see if we lose the VWAP. Okay. Got a little move down to the VWAP, but so far it's a bullish 5 minute candle. Can this bullish 5 minute candle outweigh this bearish 5 minute candle? Potentially. We'll see. I'm still in the long. So we closed two 5-minute candles with resistance on the point of control. And now we're getting a purple candle down towards the VWAP again. This is kind of looking like a close your long sign. Let's see if we close a 1-minute candle below VWAP. If we do that, we'll definitely close my long, and it looks like we're probably going to close a 1-minute candle down there because this is a pretty aggressive dump. So yeah, I'm thinking we're probably going to get a rotation further down in the range, and in that case, I should close my long, take my profits, and potentially look for another entry lower. All right, so we just got to move to the low of the range, another SFP. So closing out my long and taking my profits was the right move. And the question is, do I want to take another long? And I haven't yet, and the reason for that is because it looks very sketchy. 3-minute money flow coming out. Not seeing anything that tells me we're going to get a clear div here. Potentially, we still could form divs from back here. That is still technically a divergence of sorts. But it's looking sketchy for sure. 5-minute money flow is hooking back to the downside as well. VWAP is pointing down. Momentum's pointing down. And I'm not really seeing anything on the 1-minute to give me a whole lot of confidence here. I mean, yeah, a very slight divergence there, probably a continuation divergence from back here. And money flow is, on its way down. It still could put in a higher low, but yeah, I mean, sketchy is really the word to describe it. So I'm gonna wait a little bit. Yeah, maybe we end up just breaking the range to the downside. Maybe we end up getting a bit of a move, and maybe then I can get in on a golden pocket retest if confirmations actually start to show up. In that case, I'd probably want to see something else like CVD divergence. But honestly, I'm kind of hoping we just lose the range to the downside because I am still in this short. And actually, it looks like we might have some absorption forming here. Uh, you know, we see shorts opening up right now. CVD putting in lower lows, open interest increasing. If you look at where open interest was at the wick, and if I move it to get out of the way of these annoying buttons down here, yeah, at the wick, open interest was right here. So we are seeing some, valid absorption signals. Granted, it's very low time frame. It's not looking like a whole lot of shorts are getting absorbed, but I mean, it's a noticeable amount. And price did just get a move down to the golden pocket. Now it's approaching the 786. We'll see if we get some buying off of this area. If price starts to move to the upside, I might consider a long here. But potentially the people shorting in this area are right, at least in the short term. I don't know if this is a trade I would take, but maybe they're able to push price down and out of the range. So we'll see. And losing the 786 like that is not a great sign for a bounce. Granted, we could bounce from where we bounced from, but it doesn't look good. Makes me think we might, at least come down for this wick, and then depending on if we can, SFP that or close below it will really be the deciding factor. But I'm not really loving a long right now that we came lower than the 786. At least not immediately. Potentially if I see a bunch of bullish candles closing and we start pulling away, maybe I'll consider like a lower risk trade, but right now it seems like we're probably going to go for the low. Okay, we closed a 1-minute candle outside the range. We got 2 minutes till the 5-minute closes. Same for the 3-minute. And we are now approaching, this low down here. So now we can start checking to see if there's potential for any bull divs on this low. And I mean, on the 15-minute, at least with momentum there is, money flow is putting in lower lows, so that's not ideal. We can maybe check some higher time frames. The 30-minute, it looks like momentum's putting in a lower low, but I mean, money flow isn't looking terrible on this time frame. On the 1-minute, money flow is coming up, so maybe the higher time frames can back this up a little bit. But if money flow on the low time frames isn't agreeing, then it is a bit more sketchy. Which, if you notice, I'm using the word sketchy a lot for a lot of these trades because honestly, they are a lot more sketchy than a lot of the trades I'm used to taking. But I mean, if they're working, they're working. And right now the trend is the SFPs are giving the best trades. So, with that, I'm fine taking sketchy trades if it fits my trading rules, which my rules are, number one, I have to see confirmations. I have to see something else that leads me to believe that this trade will work. And, I also have to have rules with my risk management. If it's more of a sketchy trade, I take less risk on it. So even though they are sketchier trades, I am trading them responsibly. And I did already hit my TP for this. I front ran it a little bit, so that is another TP on my short hit. Right now I have about a little bit more than 1.5% locked in with the short. I made about 1%, or I think a little less than 1% on the long. So far about 2.5% locked in. That's pretty good for a couple scalps. And, I'm not loving how Market Cipher is looking approaching this low, but if we see some 1 minute confirmations, and in order to do that, price would have to kind of, retrace a little bit, maybe approach this level a bit more slowly. Then we could potentially see some 1 minute confirmations here if momentum comes up and starts forming some divs, if money flow starts curving to the upside. That was a pretty poor drawing, but you get my point. All right, so I'm kind of liking how this is developing. This is making me definitely want to consider a long from this range low if we get an SFP there. And yeah, we're basically seeing what I wanted to see. Prices consolidating here a little bit. It has not taken out the low, at least on Bybit BTC USD perpetual contract. At least on this chart, it has not taken the low yet. And yeah, we've kind of been consolidating here, giving time for Market Cipher to give potential for some much better confirmations on this low. We can see if we get a move down here relatively soon, we definitely have some bull div potential on the 5 minute locally, even potentially continuing the money flow div. It looks like, it's on its way down right now, so we might not get that local div, but, even if it comes down a little bit, you can still say we have a div from here, we have a div from here. So, ultimately money flow's trending up. I like that in the 5 minute, still looking decent. We have bull div potential on the 3. Momentum is much higher than where it was at right here. So if we get a quick move down, we can think that momentum will probably print a higher low, even though money flow is continuing down on the 3. Money flow is not looking great, but 1 minute money flow is really getting a turn to the upside. So, it's looking like we can get some pretty good signs if we get an SFP to low. I'm not gonna, enter early just because Market Cipher is kind of, looking like it's turning around. I really want to see the SFP of the low of the range. All right, so price took a while to get here. It's a few hours later, I think, about an hour later maybe. And I was considering entering a trade once we reclaimed the value area low. If I saw other confirmations here, I was going to be looking for more clear confirmations, stuff that I probably wouldn't have shared, at least not confirmation wise, but the idea was I was looking for a back test of the value area low once we reclaimed it. And well, I didn't get confirmation, so I didn't enter a trade. And now I am back to looking at an SFP of the low. And, we definitely have some potential for some pretty nice looking bull divs on the higher time frames, relative to what I've been using. So by that, I mean the 5 minute and the 3 minute. Money flow ultimately coming up. Momentum came up a lot, and we just got a very quick move to the downside. And momentum is still like at the 0 line for the 5 minute. It hasn't come down that far yet, meaning there's a pretty good chance that we could see some divergences if we get a move down to SFP. Now, looking at the 1 minute, momentum has come very low on the 1 minute, and money flow is getting a move down, putting in lower lows in the red. So what would be ideal for me would be if we can find a bit of support prior to SFPing the low, maybe get a little retracement and then come down to give an opportunity to get some divergences on the 1 minute as well. I think that would be the ideal setup. I would probably take a higher risk trade, like in terms of what I actually risk on the trade, if I saw these clear confirmations, and if the 3 minute and the 5 minute were still showing divergences, which I think they will. And if we just get a move down right now and all I'm seeing is the 5 minute, 3 minute divergences, I'm probably going to be a little bit more patient with it. Right, if we just come straight down to here and then we come up and close one 5 minute candle, I'm probably going to wait a little bit. Even if I have to enter a little bit higher, that's fine. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking at right now. We'll see if we can get another trade here. All right, so we are now at the low. We just took it out. I did not enter a trade yet. I want to at least wait for a 5-minute candle to close. And looking through Market Cipher, on the 5-minute, we see clear potential for bullish divs with momentum. Money flow is putting in a local lower low, but overall it is still putting in a higher low, or at least it very well could be from back here. So that's fine. There's still a divergence there, and we're pulling up a little bit. On the 3-minute, we actually see a nice local div with money flow and momentum. It looks like that's probably going to print as a bullish div. And on the 1-minute, we did get what I was hoping for. Momentum came up. It looks like we are forming a local bullish div as we just put in a lower low. Money flow is not looking the greatest, but overall still a bullish div from back here if it puts in a higher low to this wave. So we're definitely seeing bullish div potential, but I don't want to enter this prematurely because just because there's bull divs here doesn't mean we can't break the range to the downside. So I want to see a bit more confirmation in price action that the low is actually in. So I'm watching this 5-minute candle to see if that closes as an SFP first. And then if the 1 minute's looking good at the time, then I'll probably enter. Hopefully we get a few bullish closes on the 1 minute back within this range, and I'll be a little patient with it. I'll enter up here. Okay, so we actually just closed a 5-minute and 15-minute candle outside of the range. So yeah, that's not looking good for an SFP play. Potentially it still could come back within the range, but it's not the ideal confirmation. We don't really have, an SFP. It could be a 30-minute wick. We could technically close a 30-minute candle back within here, but that's going to be another, 14 minutes until that happens. But I did not enter the trade, and I am still in a short. So if we're going to break the range to the downside, I am A-okay with that. But honestly, since we have so many divs here, I mean, we even still technically have 15-minute bull divs, at least with momentum from back here when this range started. If we start pulling back up in the range and maybe closing a few 5-minute candles back in the range, maybe I'll consider a long. It's not going to be as ideal because my plan, if I did take this SFP trade right here, I would have wanted to lock this trade in by the time we rotated to the high of this smaller range that we were forming. I'm looking at this as a range, or at least I was, and that would have been good risk reward up to this local high. But now if I enter, sure, I still could do that potentially, depending on where I enter. Maybe I enter up here and then it's not really looking as good. But still, with the bull divs, there is a potential that even though we closed a candle below this low, it still could give us a rotation. So I want to consider that possibility. Maybe I'll take less risk on this trade if I do take it. And I'm definitely still going to be patient with it. Just because we're pulling up a little bit, I'm not going to rush into a trade. I want to see at least a couple candles close back within this range before I even consider it. Oh, shoot. I was recording this entire time. Are you kidding me? Whoops. All right, so I think it's pretty clear that we are not reclaiming the range. It looks like we are breaking down out of the range. I did not get confirmations to open along here, so I did not. And I also did remove my TP from this anchored VWAP. I wanted to see how price acted once we got here. Because, just the fact that we're breaking out of this larger range makes me think that, even if we get a little bounce from here, we may continue lower. So I may take some profits here depending on what I see, but, I'm not sure yet. But I do want to try and leave some of this short open for if we actually lose the anchored VWAP, because this could turn into a very juicy trade if that were to happen. I think I'm going to end the video here. I took 2 profitable trades, which is pretty good for just scalping a little range like this. Well, originally the range I was scalping was this. And we avoided taking a loss on this because I was waiting for, more clear confirmations. I never got them, so I consider not taking a trade that would have ended up in a loss a win. So that's 3 W's for the day. And right now, price is losing the anchored VWAP, which is a good sign for my short. So I think I'm going to end this video here. I may make a follow-up video to this strategy if it continues to work. I want to continue making live trading videos like this. These are very fun videos to make. I think they're good content. I hope that you were able to learn something from the way I do my TA, the way I managed my ideas, and the places where I de-risked, took profit, etc., etc. And please keep in mind, This isn't a strategy that I trade with very often. It's a strategy that, is a classic of mine. When I notice this kind of thing is working, just simple SFPs of a range with market cipher confirmations with divergences, I'll trade them, when I notice that they're working. And right now I notice that they're working. But remember that this market, tends to have patterns. These kind of trade setups will work for a while up until the point where, I don't know, market makers decide, oh, look, there's a lot of people trading just simple SFPs of a range. That's a very easy way to engineer some more liquidity by simply making a candle closed as an SFP while it's taking out the high or low of a range, just to get people to trade it, just to then have the next candle break the range and essentially engineer more liquidity for the move. So remember, these kind of things don't work forever. They come and go. These kind of trade setups don't always work, even when we have what I would call confident confirmations on market cipher. They don't always work out. But by noticing a pattern in the markets, by trading responsibly in the way that I enter, by trading responsibly in the way that I take risks, and the way that I manage my trades, I was able to make this strategy work for me today. All right, thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. All of that stuff helps to support the channel, and I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video.